Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Fabiana and in today's tutorial I'm going to be making this beautiful fox head beanie for babies on my Sentro knitting machine. So the knitting machine you're gonna need is a Sentro 40 if you are making a baby, newborn or all the way to 1 year old. And if you're making any bigger than that, for a child like let's say 3, 4, 5 years old, make sure you use your Centro 48. For this beanie, I'm going to be using worsted yarn in these three different colors. And it has to be worsted because the beanie is only one layer, otherwise would be too thin. Okay, so prefer worsted for a yarn choice for this beanie. Also, I'm going to leave the pattern for this beanie down the description below. I calculated for sizes from all the way from babies to 4 to 6 years old. If you guys want to grab the pattern there, so I'm going to leave the pattern down on the description below for you guys. And just to show you here the measurements of this beanie so you guys know. It's around 5.5 inches wide and 5 inches long. So if you want anything different than that, you can make a little few more rows, or you can use your Centro 48 to make the beanie a little more wide if you need that. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make the ribbing on the bottom and also the nose and the embroidery on the little face. So let's get started. To start this project, grab some waste yarn, enough to make around 3 to 4 rows, and then put the yarn inside the first needle, behind the second one, and inside the third one, and repeat that all the way until you reach that black needle. Make sure as well you select the tube mode of your knitting machine, otherwise you will stop when you get to the first needle on the way back. So when you reach the black needle, make sure the yarn is behind the black needle and just place it inside the yarn guide like I'm doing here, and then use the tension holder with the best tension for your yarn if you are using one. Okay, I normally do the tension with my fingers, so I don't use the tension guide, and that's a way to do it. You just let the yarn slide through your hands when you are making. That avoids as well a lot of tension mistakes you can make. So that's why I prefer that. And so when you finish, just make sure the yarn's inside the last two needles and then add the orange yarn in right in front of the first needle, which is the first needle white for me. Make sure you leave a longer tail so we can use that same tail to seam the ears later. And then I'm going to be making 12 rows with the orange color now. Once I'm finished with the orange, I'm gonna just leave the yarn inside the machine, and then I'm going to add the white color in. And with the white color, I'm going to be making 14 rows. It's a little more rows just because I'm going to make the ribbing later with the white. So after the first row with the white, just make sure you make a little knot to secure both ends together, and then keep making your rows until you reach 14 for this size. Okay, if you are making any other size, this changes a bit, so refer to the pattern if you bought it before from me. Now, to cast off the stitches, I'm going to be making a full row without the yarn to release all the stitches of the needles. And I'm going to leave a long tail as well. If you have the yarn still, I didn't have any yarn left, that's why I have just a little bit. But if you have some yarn left, just make sure you put the yarn inside the machine and just make a full row without the yarn until you reach one needle before the needle that has the tail. Otherwise you're gonna drop the next 2 or 3 stitches if you do that. And now just cast off with waste yarn and a tapestry needle and place your finger on the top of the next stitch, the next needle, just to make sure that won't come off and you're not gonna drop stitches this way. So once I finish that, that's what we have. And now I'm going to make the eyes and nose to show you guys. So I'm making piece by piece and then I'm gonna be assembling this beanie after that. So to start the eyes, I'm going to be making a magic ring this way. This way always works for me. Put the hook underneath the first loop, yarn over, pull it through, and then just yarn over, pull through to make a chain. This way always works for me, so I recommend that if you can't make magic rings. And then chain 1. We will be making 11 half double crochets inside this ring to make the eyes. It's just a little circle. And we're gonna be making 3 of these eyes just to have 2 eyes and the little nose of our fox. So it's just very simple crochet. Or you can use bottoms as well, if you prefer that. Okay, so after I finish the 11 stitches, I'm going just to pull it, tied the inside tail, and then I'm going to put the hook through the first stitch and I'm going to make a slip stitch and then a chain just to cut the yarn off. So make 3 of these. And then for the next step, I'm going to be showing you how to make the bottom ribbing of this beanie. So to make the bottom ribbing, I'm going to be pulling this waste yarn right to where there's just a little bit of it left, so it makes it easier to just work with the stitches. And then I'm going to be removing this first stitch here. My ribbing will have only 5 rows, so just remove 5 rows from inside. You can count there's 5 strands of yarn there. And then turn it inside out and just pull the stitches this way that I'm showing. And this is gonna this is gonna do is gonna make a knitted stitch where you have the purl and a purl stitch where you have the knitting on the other side. And I'm making here 1 by 1 ribbing. Okay, so every second stitch I'm going to remove this way, and then I'm going to bind off as well at the same time. So just put the hook through 2 loops and then yarn over and pull it through. And again here, so the second stitch is a knitted stitch because the one just before was a ribbing. And then just yarn over, pull it through. Make a long loop this way so you don't drop the stitch. And then repeat the same thing with this second stitch here. Flip it inside out and just remake the ribbing again. I'm going to be doing this all around my beanie, every second stitch, and then when I finish that, I already bind off the stitches at the same time, so this is all you have to do to make the bottom ribbing. Make sure as well you're not making your crochet stitches too tight, otherwise you won't, it could happen that your beanie won't fit the head, okay? And then make a slip knot in this last stitch this way. Cut the yarn and then just hide the yarn on the back. And now our ribbing is ready. Now to bind off the other side, what you have to do is just place fold the beanie in half, making sure the tail is on the other end, and just see if all the stitches, see which stitch you have to start with, folding it this way, and then put the hook through the first stitch on one side and then the second one on the other side and pull in this way. It's a very easy way to bind off the stitches, I think. And I like to do that for beanies and headbands as well. So you're gonna pull one stitch inside another, just grabbing them from the opposite side all the time. I'm going to repeat that all the way until I reach that yarn tail. And so when I reach the yarn tail, I'm going to be able to put the yarn tail through the last loop, and that way finish with the binding off on the other side. This is the same way you do for a cat beanie as well. You can make any type of ears with this finishing just by seaming the ears later. So I'm going to finish this. I'm going to make this same thing all the way to the other side. And here it is, the last stitch. Make sure you grab all the stitches. They can be hidden sometimes underneath the waste yarn. Just I'm pulling through the last stitch here. And then just put the tail inside the last loop to finish this way. Now I'm going to leave this open like this because I'm going to use this to embroider the shape of the ears later, okay? And now just remove the waste yarn from the top of your beanie this way. Just be very patient with it because sometimes it can be very tangled, so and here you go, guys. This is how our bean is looking like. Love this color mix. Now I'm gonna show you how to make the nose, and that's the last thing we are making. To make this nose, I'm going to make a triangle shape. So I'm going to start casting on only 3 stitches on any place on my knitting machine, okay? You don't need to be in a specific needle for that. After I cast on 3 stitches, make sure the yarn's underneath that little lip, and then put the yarn inside the yarn guide, and make sure you do that with your fingers this time. Make the tension with your fingers, otherwise your edges are not gonna look very good and you have to remake it. And then I'm going to make now 3 rows very slowly this way. Make sure the yarn always goes underneath that lip before you start making your way back. I think that's one of the most important things about the panel work. And also make sure the loops are always down on the bottom of each needle, because that's what makes you drop stitches, is when the loop is more on the top, and then it goes, the next loop comes on top of it, and then you drop stitches this way. So that's the third, that's the second row, and then one extra row. That's my third row now. And then what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start increasing stitches to make that triangle shape, okay? So I'm going to go 2 extra needles after the last one that had the stitch, this way that I'm doing here. And then on my way back, that first needle will lose the yarn and the second one's gonna keep. So I'm going to be increasing 1 stitch on each end. Okay, just pull, always pull the yarn on the beginning of the row. See what I'm doing here? I'm going to finish as soon as the yarn's inside the needle, I'm going to pull the yarn. So it's tied. And then I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to go 2 needles after the last needle that has the stitch. I'm gonna make my way back and make 1 extra stitch this way. I'm going to be making this for until I have 11 stitches here, okay? So I'm going to increase 1 stitch in every single row on each side until I have the 11 stitches. Always make sure the loops are way down on the bottom, otherwise you're gonna drop a stitch. Put the loops down right on the bottom of the needle once it comes up, and then again I'm increasing 1 more stitch on this side. So repeat the same work until you have 11 stitches. And you can go very slow if you are not used to make panels. This is a very little panel in this case. Or you can, if you prefer making this part only in crochet, you can crochet as well. So if you think crochet is more easy, just make a triangle crochet shape. Make sure you count the stitches so you don't go over 11, because 11 is the perfect size for this triangle, for this nose shape. And I'm here making my last increasing on this side now. And then after increasing these 2 last stitches, I'm going to make 2 rows with the same number of stitches. So I'm just gonna keep 11 in these last 2 rows. And that's the second one. And right straight after, just remove the yarn and just make a full row without the yarn to release the needles from the pegs. And then we can start casting off the stitches from the machine with a tapestry needle and some waste yarn in a different color, so it's easier for you guys to see when you start seaming the nose to the beanie later. So here you go, guys. This is our nose for you guys to just have a look how the shape is. As you can see, it's a perfect triangle shape for a nose. And now I'm going to show you how to seam to the beanie. So make sure you place the nose right on top of where the ribbing is, and then right in the middle. So make sure you have the same number of stitches for both sides of the beanie, okay, before you start seaming it. And then pull that yarn tail as well, so it's not on the way, and it's very short on the beginning, so it's easier to just remove it as you go. And then I'm going to make a stitch right on the other side, because I'm using the tail that's connected to the nose. And then make sure as well you follow that same, always that same row going horizontally, okay? Because otherwise the nose is gonna be, it's not gonna be straight. So grab the 2 loops in one side and then the 2 loops on the other side. So each loop's gonna be worked twice. So I'm grabbing the first one again and then the second loop on the other side. Then as soon as you make the stitch, you can remove the waste yarn from the other side, from this side. And then if you have a look here, you can see, you can actually see where the yarn was, where the last stitch was, and just make the next stitch right next to it. And then this is how this stitch is made. I'm going to now grab the second loop and then the third loop on the other side. So just go from one side to another, making the same shapes, the same shape really of the knitted stitch. Just make sure you don't make knots like I did now. And so repeat this all the way until you reach the other side. And then I'm gonna show you how to seam as well. We're gonna be using this same yarn tail to seam the bottom of the nose, just to, just so the nose it's not loose on the beanie. And then these are the 2 last stitches, just to show you guys how it is to finish it. Going to go through the last 2 loops on the bottom and then 2 more loops on the top, so it's very seamless as well. And now I'm going to start seaming the nose. I'm going to try and hide that big loops of the edges of this triangle shape. So if you can, just hide them inside the nose as well. And so, yeah, just weave in and out like if you were embroidering really through both layers, and just trying to hide the imperfections that your nose can have from the circular knitting machine edges. And then just embroider your nose all the way down and on the other side as well. And make sure these 3 bottom stitches, you can just pull it to make the shape even more triangular on the bottom. That's why we didn't need waste yarn on the beginning. And then just hide that tail behind it and cut it off so it's not on the way as well. And just keep seaming all the way to the other side, where you're gonna make just a knot to close it off. And then we're gonna start to just add the eyes and the nose to our beanie. And now to attach the eyes, first put them on the right spot on the beanie, where you want them to be, just to have a look if everything's right. And then with the tapestry needle, and for this situation I prefer a metal one, which I didn't use, but it's much better to go through all the layers because you're gonna have a fair few layers to go through, and the metal one does a better job for this situation. Okay, I actually changed for the metal one after this, making this first eye. And then just seam it through all the layers, make sure it's secured. You can also here, if you prefer, just to glue it, but I find that glue sometimes doesn't work really well for yarn, so it's up to you really. I prefer to seam it just to make sure it's secure, even more when we're making things for kids, you know what I mean? They move a lot, and it needs to be really well fixed. So I'm just making a few knots here, and then I'm going to add the two other little eyes on the right place there, and then I'll come back with you to show you how to make the fox little ears. Guys, I'm really in love with this project, so cute. And I even made a little thing on the ears, to on the inside of the ears. So after you finish the first one, make sure you fold it, so to start the other one on the same spot where you had the other side, and just make a knot on the back to start with. I'm just gonna be seaming the same way that I did with the nose, just in and out like embroidery. This is actually my first animal beanie. You can make other animal faces with this same type of shape. You could make a cat as well, or a bear, or there's so many options of little animals you can make, and it all looks so cute. So I'm just finishing to seam this, and then I'm going to make a knot here on the back. And then I'm going to make the last little thing with the hide the tail here. And then I'm going to make the last little ear detail there with the off-white color. You could be using black as well. It's really a matter of preference. I think the white went really well here. And then just make the same thing, just do the same thing here. Make a knot and make a few stitches up and down. Isn't this gorgeous, guys? It's so cute. Let me know down in the comments if you like making this beanie, because I really did. I don't make much of these little animals and kids stuff, but I had fun making this project. So let me know down in the comments, and also make sure you share with friends if you have friends that would like to make this project. Subscribe to my channel, guys. I'm really happy with all the subscribers I've been getting lately. And as well, I have another project for you guys after this one. If you want to make a baby sweater as well to match with this, in the project I made a pink one, but if you want to make the colors of this beanie. It would be really cute as well, I think. So thank you all for watching, guys, and I hope I see you here on my next tutorial.